Hi everyone. Today I'm really excited to welcome Rupa Dachere, a leader, innovator, and advocate for inclusivity in tech. With over 20 years of experience in software engineering, executive leadership, and nonprofit work, Rupa is the founder and president and CEO of ThriveWise and the creator of programs like micro conferences that empower women and allies in tech. She holds degrees in computer science from UC Berkeley and an executive MBA from Stanford. And today we're really excited for her to share her incredible journey. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Laura.
So let's start with your childhood. How did you know that engineering was for you? Was there a moment where you realized you wanted to be an engineer?
Let's see. So I went to school um, through 11th, half of 11th grade in India. And for those that don't know, in India, it's a huge thing to be either an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor. So everybody strives to be one of these three things, and you have to be good at math, and you have to be good at science, et cetera, et cetera. And I happen to be good at most of those things. But my dad was an engineer. He was in power, electrical engineer, and so that was my home environment. And so engineering was kind of built into the home environment, sort of. Um, but I wasn't particularly focused on trying to see if I wanted to be an engineer. I just wanted to do well in school and see, what would make me interested in things later on. So I didn't actually focus on any one particular path. I was just focused on doing well in, the categories of studies that I was naturally inclined towards. But later on, once we moved to the US, that's when I got interested in computer science, which was just the beginning of computer science as a subject in universities. Prior to that, didn't exist. So I was one of the first batches, so to speak, to graduate with a computer science degree at University of Colorado, and I was one of three women in a let's see, graduating class of I think 70.
Wow. Oh my God.
So that was interesting as well. So I got into computer science, and then engineering was like a fallout from that.
Mhm.
And then, mainly I wanted to graduate with a degree that I could get a job in and I could earn money because that was very, very important for me. So that's how
Yeah.
I fell into the engineering thing is, hey, it's a good area to be in if you want to earn money and not do physical work because I also didn't want to be like running around all the time. So
Yeah, of
yeah.
course. So you mentioned like Colorado Boulder and I think in the intro like Stanford Business School. So what was that like? And what tips would you give to any young girls aiming for universities like that?
Yeah, so at least in the US, I don't know about the rest of the world, but for undergraduate studies,
Mhm.
um, most universities are very, very good. Their programs are very intense. The basics are focused on at least, 'cause I went to undergrad in the 90s.
Yeah.
And the way things were taught back then is quite different from how it's taught now. So I have my thoughts about how that's changed and my opinions about that. So I'll mention those as well. But back in the 90s, academia was going to class. There was no
Mhm.
online anything. So you actually had to be physically present in class. Somebody was teaching, and there was a, a, a green board or a blackboard and chalk used. And there were slide projectors, and few people had laptops, not everybody.
Mm.
So that's how things were taught, and it was live, and you had to ask questions in class and participate in all of that. So the whole academic environment was quite different than what it is now. And I've had a few conversations with, undergraduates who are going through, universities like Purdue, Indiana University,
Yeah.
even, people at Stanford. A lot of the classes are online now.
Oh, okay.
And the curriculums have changed significantly. There's not as much focus on the fundamentals. There's a lot of focus on things that will get you a job very quickly that are sponsored by tech companies, specific tech companies. And my personal opinion, I really don't like that at all because the graduates that are coming out of these programs now are very, very shaky on the fundamentals. I've interviewed several of them and they just fail.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so it's not a good situation. I really don't think the academic environment and the curriculum and the depth of the knowledge that is um, taught to the students and graduating students having that depth of knowledge and working hard. I think that has almost disappeared. And this is not a good sign, especially from universities, what I would call in the Western world.
Hmm.
Certainly in the US, it's really not a good thing right now. So I'm having conversations, and I've had conversations with professors at Stanford, professors at Berkeley, computer science, double E, and they are also concerned. Well, there are two parts. So there are the professors that have been professors for a long time, and then there are the new professors, and so there is a big um, I would say, struggle right now between university funding, the money that's coming to the university specifically from undergraduate students
Hmm.
and also from tech companies that give a lot of money. But the thing is, if you have a for-profit entity like a tech company giving money to a university, they expect something in return.
Yeah.
And what they expect in return is you will give us people who know exactly what we do, which is what the universities have kind of turned towards. So the younger professors are saying, well, we got to bring in money. XYZ company gave us, X million dollars, but they expect, students to know Java, because
Mm.
that's what they use. So we will teach Java, and send them a bunch of students because that's what they're paying for essentially. Which, means that the students don't learn a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So when they graduate, they know a certain set of things, and their fundamentals are shaky, like I said. So there is that situation. So yeah,
Yeah, I think it's really
I would
important to
say,
have your.
yeah. So it's like for the next generation, I would really, really, really stress that even if you don't get the fundamentals too much from
Mhm.
from your professors, from the classes, take some extra classes, especially now with MOOCs and Coursera
Yeah.
and Udemy and all of these. Take the fundamental classes, take the algorithms, take the data structures, take basic. You need to be able to you know code a linked list data structure basically, okay, without having to rely on a library that already has it built. Yes, it's easy to use a library, but you need to understand how the thing is actually implemented internally. And if you don't know that, you don't really know how to debug things when things fail. So that's my recommendation. So don't focus on which fancy university to go to,
Yeah.
at least for the US, because most of the undergraduate programs have very good standards. The difference is in the graduate schools. So the graduate schools, that's when you need to focus on, hey, do I need I need to focus on top tier or not, because there is a huge difference in kind of the research budget, the professors that you will be working for. That's when the differences in the top tiers versus mid tiers happens. So for undergraduate, don't care. When you get to graduate, that's when you start focusing on, okay, I want to go to the top tier because XYZ department, XYZ professor is working on this particular problem or area that I'm interested in. And I've proven that, I can get the right, undergraduate grades or whatever to get into that program. That's when you start focusing on, top tier versus mid tier universities. That's my opinion on that. Hope that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's like really, it's interesting and useful to know that your focus should be with your postgraduate degree for the most part. And can you tell us the story behind PiDoorbell? What inspired you and how did you take it from concept to reality?
So I've always been a bit of a fiddler, with things, especially small electronics. I'm a ham radio operator. So so when the Raspberry Pi came out in 2011, 2012, yeah, 2011, 2012 was the first version that came out. It pretty much, it was like it revolutionized things because it was the first time you got like a tiny little computer and you can do so many things with it. And so, of course, I got really interested. And at that time, there was also the Arduino R3 around, a bunch of other,
Yeah.
small, electronics around. And I wanted to, experiment essentially with these new things that had appeared on the market. And so I got one, and I was just fiddling with it. I didn't do much with it. And then, at that time, I owned a single family home in San Jose, California. And the way my home was structured is the front door was on one side, and it was kind of a long, tract house. And if I was in the back or in the backyard, I had no idea if anybody rang the doorbell, and they would
Oh.
just keep ringing and I couldn't hear a thing, and I would just happily, ignore them and they would leave. So, so like, this is not a good thing. And so it suddenly dawned on me saying, hey, maybe I can build something that,
Yeah.
if somebody shows up at my front door, then I'll be notified no matter where I am as to who's at my front door and that I need to like go there. So that's what triggered everything. And nothing like this existed on the market at that point. And, as far as I could tell, nobody was even looking into it.
Mhm.
So I started, and I picked the Raspberry Pi, the first version, which had lots of bugs in it. And because of the bugs, I added an Arduino R3 to it, which was a lot less buggy. And then, I sourced through China, a little camera sensor that
Oh,
I
wow.
could buy for cheap, and then I had that shipped from China. So I was like fiddling, it was just fiddling time, and there was fiddling with it, fiddling, and then finally I got it to work shakily. I mean, if you basically the first Raspberry Pi, if you touched the power cord, it would reboot.
Oh.
So it was pretty flaky actually. So, but it was fun because it was an outlet for me to get away from a lot of stressful situations at work, because I was working at a
Mhm.
very prominent company at that time. I was looking to get promoted, and that was not happening for a variety of reasons. So I just wanted to do something, and I was getting pushed to either go into management or go into, like, one manager actually said, "Oh, why don't you go into technical writing?" Which, for a developer is like death. Okay. It's like no developer wants to do technical writing. Okay, so like, okay, so this was my outlet to, just do something purely technical and not have somebody breathing down my neck about, how many bugs to fix and, deadlines and, all of that stuff. So that's how everything started. And that's why I started, you know, what became PiDoorbell. And then once I got it to work, um, at that time, PyCon, which is a Python developers conference, was happening in the Bay Area, which is where I was living.
Hmm.
So I just, applied. I was like, hey, here's what I built. Can I talk about it? And they accepted it. And I didn't know, and they didn't announce till the first day of the conference that their main keynote speaker was Eben Upton, who was the inventor of the Raspberry Pi.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so I went on stage, my first major, conference talk, and there were like over 600 people in the room, almost all male. And they had to shut the doors for the fire department, said no more people. And I gave my talk, and after that, Eben Upton came up after me. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. So that's how PyDoorbell came about. And then, I open sourced it because, I didn't want to make any money off of it.
Mhm.
I couldn't actually because I was working full time at a company and they had restrictions on, you know, if I built anything in my own time that was remotely technical,
Mhm.
the company would own it.
Oh, okay. They would have
And
rights
so
over it.
that was, they would have rights over it. So even if I thought of something when I was like, in the bathroom or something, they owned it. That was the employment agreement. And so one of the ways for me to get around that was to open source it, saying, you
Mm.
know what, this is for everybody. Nobody has rights on it, especially the company that I'm working on.
Yeah.
so so that was one of the reasons I open sourced things so I could continue working and not have the company actually own any part of what I had built.
Yeah, that's a really smart way to like get around
I'm
it.
also a huge, open source proponent. I've been
Mhm.
using, open source since the early 90s, uh, when even before Linux came about. So, yeah, I was one of the first people to install Slackware on my desktop in the early 90s. So, yeah, well,
Wow.
that's a long answer to a short question.
So like I really love like your initiatives like Pi Doorbell. So now moving on to the next stage of your life with ThriveWise. So can you tell us a bit more about that and why did you start that?
Yeah, that's also a sort of a long story. So it's been about 16 years since I started. So at first we were called, if I'm writing the code chicks,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
that was the first name so it was a group that I started because I was running into issues at work getting promoted
Mhm.
and getting visibility for the work that I was doing. And so this was my way of just, having an outlet for that blockage at work. So I just wanted to create a group of women just like me who are more interested in doing technical things and having a community that would purely focus on the tech and keep up with the rapid evolution of whatever technical new things that were coming up every 6 months. And so that was the whole intent of starting Code Chicks. And so I started that in 2009 in May in my living room and with just one other person
Wow.
who I happened to find at another conference, that I went to. And so we had our first meeting. I was like, well, it's just the two of us and we're both engineers and that's it. We should find other people. So we both went off to, meetups, and Meetup had just come on the market at that point, and everybody was having meetups and all of that. So we started going to meetups, and slowly the group grew, and then it outgrew my living room, and then I had to like look for space at tech companies and ask them, hey, can you give us space, on the weekend, and maybe some food if you could give us food, like pizza is good. So it started that way and started growing. And then I ran into a bunch of issues with that because it was my first time actually having any kind of an initiative, a community initiative. I didn't know what I was doing. It was very much a single, individual performer at
Mhm.
work. Never done anything group related. So it was a huge learning curve for me over many years. I was, having a full-time job. Then I was doing this. Then I had to take care of my house. It was a lot, but it slowly grew. And then I kind of ran it on the side for almost 10 years,
Mhm.
which was quite a long time. And I started doing annual conferences. I think in 2015 was the first one. And that was very successful, where I only focused on developers. I wouldn't allow anybody else in. You had to be an engineer on the engineering ladder, writing
Okay.
code as your primary job to be admitted into the conference or even
Mhm.
into the group. So that's how strict I was. and then, and then, in let's see, when was it? 2019. Pretty much exactly 10 years later, I quit my full-time job for a variety of reasons,
Oh.
take care of my elderly parents as well. And went full-time on Code Chicks and then rebranded to ThriveWise because there was a big demand from the PMs. A lot of the women who were on the engineering ladder
Mhm.
got pushed out for a variety of reasons. They got pushed out of engineering. So where would they go? They went to product management or project management or program management. So all the PMs. So I was like, well, I want to make sure that I catch all the technical women in one place, right? Not just engineering. So I included the PM ladder into ThriveWise, and that's when I did the rebranding in 2020, 2021, to include, the PM ladder is not just engineering at that point. And then, been running it ever since till this year, where we have zero funding.
Oh.
So, because of, the changes in the administration at the
Oh yeah,
US,
of course. Yeah.
diversity became a very bad thing. And so all the tech companies have fired their diversity departments, which is where our funding came from, usually.
Mhm.
So this year has been pretty tough. But I'm going to keep at least doing a little bit and
Yeah.
hold steady for as long as I can. So that's so that's the history of Code Chicks and ThriveWise, and
Yeah, I hope it will carry on. So
I hope so too.
just going back, what does PM mean?
The P stands for product,
Mhm.
program, and project management. Okay.
Okay.
So these are three separate categories of occupation
Okay.
that exist in tech companies. Okay. And every company has a slightly different definition for what they expect their product, program, and project managers to do. But essentially, PMs are one step removed from the developers, which is pure
Mhm.
engineering ladder. They interface with the business side, and they also interface with the engineering side. So they are the interface between translating what the business needs are and relaying it to engineering, and then going back and forth and ensuring that there is alignment between the two very different categories of people and knowledge and processes and everything else. And this is very, very critical for any company to be able to launch a product that meets or addresses a customer need or a market need. So this is a very critical area that is heavily female centric, which is very interesting.
Oh.
Lots and lots of women our PMs because there seemed to be a very big affinity for women being able to translate and be the go-between between two very different kinds of mindsets, the business mindset and the engineering mindset.
Hmm.
So it's very interesting. The PMs are usually their skill sets are quite different from engineering. So a lot of engineers that move from the engineering ladder to PMs have to do a lot of ramping up on skills that they don't have. So to answer your question, so that's essentially what PMs do. And project management is more like keeping track of timelines. Hey, did you do this on this day?
Okay.
Did you meet the deadlines, et cetera, et cetera? And tracking. It's a lot of tracking. But program and product have to do with, the processes, the communication, the relaying of information, the handling of issues between the business ladder and the engineering ladder. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for that. What does a typical day in the life look like for you right now with your mentoring, leadership, and engineering?
Oh, wow. So right now I'm in a transition mode where I've, moved from the US to Portugal. But, typical day, I have to balance, several things.
Hmm.
The first is I take care of my parents who I've moved to India, and they're elderly. Both of them have significant, health issues.
Okay.
So that's a big thing for me. So I manage that, and I manage, all the maid services and the agencies that are handling things on the ground in India.
Hmm.
Second thing is ThriveWise. Right now we have zero funding this year, so tightening things, ensuring that we have alignment on the board, making sure that the finances last, etc., and then continuously looking for funding wherever I can to see if we can make a difference. And the third is myself to stay healthy and to stay mentally and physically healthy. That's very important, so that I can continue growing and doing all the things that I'm doing. And then lastly, tied to ThriveWise, my community, making sure that the very few long-term volunteers that have been with me for over 10 years, over
Wow,
12
yeah.
years actually, are and who are still volunteering with ThriveWise, are happy, and that
Mhm.
they know they're appreciated, which they do. And I can continue this, and I'm really hoping that I can find something in the EU that would help us continue our mission.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. So that's typically what I do, during the day, during the weeks. It all, there's no fixed thing, and I don't have any, holidays or weekends. Work pretty
Mhm.
much is like every day because it's a
No,
startup. It's still a startup. It's just me, and then, I have 4 to 5 other employees, and then I have my board, and that's it.
it's amazing how far you've come though from the beginning. Like, I think, did you say 12 years ago with your just one
Yes. No,
employee?
well, actually 16, 16, 15,
16.
16. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a while. 2009 to 2025. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. What's one misconception about engineering you want young girls to know the truth about?
Ah, yeah. Um, I hate to say this, but it is harder than you think it's going to be. Not the academia, not the knowledge, not the hard work. You have to work hard. You have to sacrifice. other things in order to be successful. And you have to know what you want to sacrifice and what you don't want to sacrifice.
Yeah.
But it's going to be harder than you think it's going to be. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but you just need to make sure that you have what I call resilience built into things and that you're not wearing rosy glasses, looking at things going, oh, I'm just going to get this degree and get a job and I'll be rich. That's not going to happen.
Hmm.
There's going to be significant, challenges both at work and at home. Um, so prepare accordingly. Build your resilience because you will need it, especially going forward with the advent of AI. A
Hmm.
lot of the jobs are going to be replaced.
Yeah.
So you will have to find a way to be relevant and you will have to find a way to ensure that you are seen as a valuable contributor at work.
Okay.
And that means you have to continuously learn, not just learn, you have to continuously relearn,
Hmm.
which means whatever you learned, you have to get rid of in your brain and learn something new. And that skill is not easy. But that is something that I would say is an essential skill for everybody going forward because things are going to change so fast.
Yeah.
So previously every 6 months we would have change. Now it's pretty much every month.
Oh my God, yeah.
So you need to understand how to handle, changing technologies, changing processes, changing environments very quickly. And I think that's going to be far more important than actual academic knowledge, which you need.
Hmm.
You will have to have that. Everybody has to have that. That's a given. But the part that school or college will not teach you is the handling of fast, rapid change
Yeah.
and how to find your way through it and how to excel even with this uncertain climate. That part, I think about how to handle something like because that is what you will find as your number one challenge going forward.
So how would you say that we can prepare for it? Is it kind of to keep learning everywhere that we go and take on board new information?
That's a given.
Hmm.
Um, but find places where you will be faced with uncertainty.
Okay.
That is key because that will teach you how to be nimble and adjust and make decisions based on very little information. So, think about, agencies or volunteer opportunities that are not stable,
Oh.
that will throw you into situations where suddenly there's a critical issue, okay, and you have to handle it and you don't know what to do and how would you go about solving it. That kind of experience
Hmm.
is going to be very critical. And no university or any place is going to teach you that. So you have to have the fundamentals, which is the academic aspect, but you also need to start preparing mentally and physically and thought process wise how
Yeah.
to handle uncertain situations, how to handle things just go haywire all of a sudden,
Hmm.
and bring it back on track. That
Yeah.
that aspect.
Yeah, I think that's really important. What do you think is the biggest challenge you faced as a woman in tech?
uh I don't have one biggest challenge.
Mhm.
I think one of the challenges I have personally is um, multitasking. Um, I know there's a lot of literature that says, "Oh, women are good at multitasking better than men," which is absolutely not true.
Mhm.
It's like total BS. Men can multitask just as well as women can. It's just, they do it at a higher level because they get promoted faster. And they get a lot more money for doing the same thing, essentially. Um, So I think the biggest challenge for me was the multitasking and to ensure that even when I'm doing multitasking, that everything that I'm doing is at a certain um, excellence level of excellence, which is hard to do.
Hmm.
And the context switching is very difficult for me. It takes a long time to shift from one thing that I'm doing to another thing that I'm doing. So for me, that's a big challenge. But everybody will have different challenges depending on their personality and depending on what they want to do, etc. So yeah.
Yeah. Like we've spoken a lot about, like, I think you mentioned in your talk you were one of the only women in the room, and like many you've had many problems in your, like, in the companies you worked with. So um how did you kind of move past any obstacles you felt because of your gender as a woman in engineering?
Yeah, it's an ongoing issue.
Hmm.
And there are several layers to it. So, in the beginning, you don't actually feel it till about the sixth or seventh year of work.
Okay.
And maybe that's changed in the last couple of years, but that's when. So I just wanted to alert you, there's less than a minute left for this session, is what it says.
Oh yeah.
So, so uh, I think, you try to work with your manager, you try to work with your peers, you try to work with HR only in certain instances. And then when none of those work, you leave the company and you find another place. Or you shift gears into a completely different industry. Because at some point, um, every company you will hit a barrier that you cannot, get past. At which point you will have to leave. That is, a given. When and okay, so I was talking about, when you hit that barrier at the company where you just can't deal with it anymore, you leave and you find, you switch to another industry or you switch to another company within the industry that you're in, and you try to find a path forward. For me, the path forward was to, just leave, tech and go full time on my nonprofit. But who knows? I might go back into a company,
Hmm.
um, and then or I could do consulting, or I could do something else, depending on what opportunities come my way. Um, maybe I'll do another startup, this time a for profit, so I can make some money.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Wow, this is so in 2013.
Hmm.
Wow, that's a long time ago. 2013, Christina and Chucky and I did a talk at Grace Hopper about exactly this topic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Lessons, what lessons? Uh, lessons is something I would give to my younger self or something like that. And I think it says, oh, I'll send you, I'll see if I can find it and I'll send you the link for
Uh-huh.
that recording. I think they recorded it. But yeah, so interviewing has always been a big challenge for everybody.
Hmm.
And preparing for interviews is still a huge challenge. Um, Apart from that, my biggest advice to my younger self would be to invest in and grow my skill set beyond purely technical,
Hmm.
which I never did. And I mean, I did later on, but I should have focused a lot more on that because that, when it comes to climbing the corporate ladder, after a certain point. Just having pure technical skills is not enough.
Mhm.
You have to be able to work with a variety of people from a variety of backgrounds, and that is not an easy thing to do. So, exposing myself to different situations and different kinds of people with different backgrounds would have been a very good thing for me to do in my early years to prepare myself for the future, which is a lesson I think I would have I would tell myself.
And our last question, what advice would you give to young girls, say, 14 to 17, 18, interested in engineering? Yeah.
Hmm. This is an interesting time in engineering, in tech, because so much is in flux and so much is happening on the world stage. It is difficult to give advice at this time that would be pertinent even, 6 months from now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I would say, obviously, get the fundamentals down. Beyond that, do not focus too much on any particular kind of tech or engineering field
Mhm.
because you have to understand it's going to change. And it's going to change in ways no one can anticipate. So, going back to what I was saying is building your resilience and building your skills on having the fundamentals, having a really good base
Mhm.
technically, but even more so being able to adjust and absorb and recalibrate based on whatever changes happen, whether it happens on a geopolitical standpoint, whether it happens on, the skill set, what kind of skill sets you need to learn or unlearn,
Mhm.
um, whether it happens, which industries you're focusing on versus which industries you're not focusing on. Keep an open mind because you don't know what the future is going to focus on. And whatever was the big focus for the last 20 years or so is no longer going to be true.
Yeah.
So make sure you understand that what has happened in the past is not what is going to happen in the future. It's not.
Yeah.
So prepare accordingly and keep an open mind so you can find which areas to focus on that is future centric instead of past centric, if you know, for lack of a better explanation. Because things are changing too much and too fast, and
Yeah.
nobody can really predict what's going to happen in the future. So that's that's the key skill set you have to develop.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us here today. We've learned a lot from you.
Absolutely. Happy to be here and happy to share.